Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the Making Seamless Sales Show. Thanks for joining us once again. My name is Art Fromm. I'm coming to you from lovely Mars, Pennsylvania, just north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'm so glad that you're all here. I hope you're able to watch the show last week. This is episode 5, by the way, and hope you're able to watch the show last week, which was with Michelle Afshar of Dark Trace. So we had a great discussion. This show actually is being pre recorded because I have a very special guest on who's based in India, and it would be very inconvenient for him to join us from India at 7 p.m. on Eastern Time. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. I'm really looking forward to having Anil Shah on, the CEO of CloudFronts. And we'll talk about the way that we worked together to develop the enterprise grade SOS for D365 app and all the things that are around that. Just so that everybody knows, if you are watching live of this show, feel free to put your comments in. We'll see those later. And then also, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. If you want to see the replay and maybe you're listening to a podcast and you want to see the video and everything, please go to my events page on teamsalesdevelopment.com and you can get all the details there. So, as I said, today Anil Shah is going to be joining us, and we're going to talk about the D365 app that he and his team helped not only develop for me, but also used a lot of the concepts in his business. So, it is a CRM embedded tool that supports the sales opportunity snapshot methodology that Steve Bistritz and I discussed on episode 2 a few weeks ago. So this is somewhat tying it together. If you didn't see that episode, highly recommend you go back and take a look at it. Steve Bistritz, who's the owner and developer of the Sales Opportunity Snapshot, and that's where this app supports that methodology inside of the CRM system. And by the way, that's been in production use since 2017. So we'll touch on that. And Anil has so much more to share also regarding what he's seeing as trends in his own business working with clients as a data and AI partner for connecting systems and building future ready solutions. One of those trends is the shrinking amount of time a prospect spends or wants to spend with an actual salesperson and instead do some self research. Now, you probably have experienced that if you have ever gone into a store and the person on the floor in that store, let's say it's a clothing store or other things like that, they want to come up and start talking to you about, basically what they'll say is, can I help you, right? And they might even start to, I was actually in Hershey, Pennsylvania a few weeks ago with family, and we went into one of the many, many shoe stores at the outlet there. And there was this person who was trying to be very, very helpful, came up, it's like, can I help you? We've got this and we've got that and everything. We're like, no, 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 we're fine, we're fine. So I think this is part of the reason why people are shying away from trying to get involved with salespeople too soon. Sometimes sales is pushy. And I know in, maybe a business to consumer situation, such as a store that you walk into, they're just trying to be helpful. However, in other types of business, business to business environments, enterprise sales environments, the same thing is true. Unfortunately, the client, the prospect, the customer doesn't inherently trust the salesperson. It's just a reality. It's because of some experiences we've all had that might make us push away from that a little bit. So what happens is that now, especially in business to business, but I'll boil it down in even simpler than that. How many of you have ever wanted to buy a car or wanted to move to a new house or were researching an appliance or something else like that? We do tend to get online, right? Look things up, see what's available, compare prices, try to find out what the reviews are and all that. And I think that that's both good and bad. So I think it's good because now, with the entire internet and of course with AI, we do have the opportunity to get tons of, access to tons of information. Years ago, it was probably more like word of mouth, and then eventually some information started to appear over the last, whatever it's been now, 30 years, I guess, right? And slowly but surely, we've been getting more and more information. So that's good because it lets you search without that pressure of talking with a salesperson. On the other hand, it's bad potentially because we don't know what we don't know. So we've all heard the expression, the customer's always right. And what I like to think about with that is a little bit of a flip and say, we want to make the customer right. But unfortunately, the customer is not always right. They don't know what they don't know. They might not know the right questions to ask. They might have a very narrow idea or only found out certain parts of information. And so, therefore, this self directed research is potentially dangerous, or at least it might be not as fulfilling or helpful as it should be. Now, sometimes when it comes to that type of research, again, it's AI. We all know AI can go kind of crazy. Have you ever searched yourself on AI, like go to ChatGPT and tell it to tell you about yourself? Try it sometime. It's very interesting. I tried that, and even before my book came out, it said that I had written two books, and those books don't even exist in real life. It knows that I was involved with sales transformation stuff, so it had said I had won some awards, and those awards didn't even exist. And I was like, wow, I'm doing pretty good for myself. And by the way, it wasn't mistaking me for somebody else. It thought it was me because I didn't find any references to that. So the caution is, and some of the danger is bad data and or AI that's not built correctly could be problematic. Now, as Anil will touch on when we talk after the commercial break in a little bit here, um, there's not only AI that you sort of self-serve like ChatGPT and you can ask it questions and all that, which is awesome, but be careful. There's also agentic AI, an AI that's an agent, and AI that's starting to replace agents. Now, the way this often shows up is with like maybe a help desk and you're on the internet and you think you're interacting with a person, but in reality, it could be an AI agent that looks like a person. And you've all seen the videos and the crazy, amazing videos and the pictures and other things that are AI, which look very real. And of course, a lot of movies are produced with AI. But the whole point is, if a company does want to service their customers better, and if customers don't want to talk to salespeople because they don't inherently trust them, and they want to do research on their own, what can we do to make that research as best as possible so that the client, the customer, can have the right amount of information? And when we start interacting with them, we can help them to be right based on what they found out. So with agentic AI, I think there's good and bad here as well, because the agent will be able to go and find out the information. Companies who want to sell their products and offer their services can train those agents to do essentially what an upfront salesperson might do. So, a sales development representative, a business development representative, some of the cold calling I know on LinkedIn, I'm constantly getting bombarded with, hey, we can help you market your book, and hey, we can help you land more speeches and all that stuff because they know that's the stuff I do. And I know for a fact that those are AI agents because a lot of them are very, well, yeah, they're probably AI. They're very generic. Now some are good and some are bad. So good is that there's a lot more available. It's 24/7. It would allow you if you have a sales team to free up the team to do other things potentially, or shift more of your resources to that point where the client does need to be engaged. And now you can make a richer experience of that. And certainly one of the big themes of this show and of my book is client success, right? It's all about helping the client be successful. So we could put a lot more effort into that. Once again, though, be careful as you're interacting with an agent because depending on how well it's built, it might not have all the right information. And ultimately, with big decisions, a human needs to be involved. So, although we're not quite there yet, Anil Shah and others like him now. Anil has a company called CloudFronts, and they are leading the charge with both Microsoft Cloud solutions and also just recently, and congratulations goes out for becoming a Databricks partner as well. Companies like that can start to help. Now, what does this mean? It means automated demo systems, even as we as customers are interacting with these systems, be aware that information is being gathered, and rightly so, because now if you're a salesperson and you know somebody has interacted with your agent or interacted with your automated demo system, and you can understand what that information is, it's super valuable when you then meet the customer face to face or through virtual technology like Zoom or whatever. Why it's important is because in order to have clients that are successful, we need to address their needs. They need to see value. If they don't see value, they're not going to continue to buy from you. In order to see value, as we talked about on previous shows, and on my first show, I went into this in some detail, it's the overlap of the client's needs and what you provide as a solution. And where that overlap is where value will be seen. I hit my microphone, sorry about that. And so value is seen at that overlap. That means we need to really understand a lot about the needs. What is it they're trying to do? If we don't understand their needs, we cannot propose a solution. That's where all these AI systems can come into play. That's where, for all of you that are in sales and using a CRM system like Dynamics or Salesforce or whatever, that's where those systems are supposed to help you. And Anil, as you'll hear, specializes in helping companies be able to give you a system that's going to be helpful. My methods are all about helping sales to sell. So now we have that information of what happened left in the sales process or the buying process, right? What did the buyer do prior to getting engaged with you? And then what is it that you can help them with based on what you found out? That can help you implement what they need and allow them to get a solution that's going to be of more value to them. So as we come up on the commercial break, I want you to be thinking about your situation. What have your experiences been like working with and trying to avoid a salesperson? And yet, what could these systems do to help you out with having a great experience when you do meet with the salesperson? Make sure you share with them what you've learned. And they should have the resources and information to get you started and then dig deeper with you on your real needs so that you can have a solution that will satisfy your outcomes. So when I was in that shoe store, although we're talking about a live person, but just as a sales situation, it would have been really helpful for that person to say, hey, tell me a little bit about what you do. What type of activities do you like? That's what the agent should be doing. An AI agent that's proper should be asking questions that are geared toward what your needs are so that you can find out and tell them the things that you actually need. All right, so we're going to go to a commercial break here. When we come back, we're going to meet Anil, and we'll talk more about this subject and dig into the app and other things regarding making seamless sales. So we'll see you back in a couple minutes.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Siobhan Larice, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. And I'd like to welcome my guest, Anil Shah. So, Anil, hello, and
Hi,
welcome to the
Art.
show. Very quickly, let me just introduce Anil. Anil's the CEO of CloudFronts, which is a global AI-first Microsoft and Databricks solution provider. They are a partner for business applications, data, and AI. And Anil has over 20 years of experience with the Microsoft ecosystem. He's helped organizations, including me, which we'll talk about, deploy and optimize Microsoft solutions to drive business growth. Under Anil's leadership, CloudFronts has become a go-to partner for medium and small-sized businesses looking to modernize operations, connect systems, and prepare their data for the AI-driven future. So, warm welcome to my friend and partner Anil. So glad that you're able to join me here.
Happy to be here.
Yes, thanks. And thanks for joining us right now. Even though we're recording this, it's still a little bit late there in India. And I know we wouldn't have been able to have you live on the show, but I really wanted to get you on because of what you're doing in the industry, your new acquisition, well, becoming, not acquisition, becoming a partner of Databricks, which is huge. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And to share with the audience, a little bit about the way you started CloudFronts and then some of the things we did together, and even the way that you applied some of the things that you learned in our partnership that you used within your business. So, if you don't mind, can you just start with a quick summary of, how did you start CloudFronts and how did you get to where you are today?
Um, so as Art, you said, I've spent 20 years in the industry. I'm still young. Um, and My first 10 years were working in the Microsoft partners ecosystem in New York. And then I decided to take the leap of becoming an entrepreneur and saying, you know what, it looks like the ecosystem is going to change from on-premise systems to cloud systems. And I decided to move back to India, start my company. I also have a company in the US. And I've been helping customers in the Microsoft ecosystem get the most value out of their business systems deployments. And now it looks like my next journey will be taking that further by connecting their systems and getting their data ready for AI adoption.
Right. So that speaks to the what I was talking about during the preview there that you're listening to about the data integrity and things like that. So just talk for a moment about how important that is and how you're helping your clients.
So look, agents, agentic AI, all of that, hallucinations, it's a word we've known since kids, but now we have a different context for that word. Um, But we know that enterprise organizations want to get travel that journey to, let's say, prescriptive analytics and automated decision making for some of the mundane things. The foundation of that, as per the data and AI maturity curve, is clean data. Clean data means data integrity, data security, data reliability, simple things like the duplication of data. But all of this gives rise to data that's reliable for me to perform all the way to automated decision making. To traverse that journey, you need your data to be reliable, and I define that as sort of the data integrity question.
Yeah, GIGO, right? Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out, very
I
true.
remember that from decades ago when we were implementing relational databases and things. It's like it's all about the data. Just to preview a little bit as we move into
Yes.
how you helped me and then how what you learned helped you. The way we met actually, and I'll go into this a little bit further in my final segment as well, but the way we met was because in 2016, I
Wow.
was asked by Peter, I know, can you believe it? I was asked by Peter Cohen, is that 9 years ago? Oh, how's that possible? Uh, I know. I was asked by Peter Cohan, who is the author of Great Demo, to become a certified Great Demo partner. And
Hmm.
coincidentally enough, Peter had told me that there was a company in New York City called AKA who
Hmm.
was potentially wanting to talk with me about doing some Great Demo stuff. So as I did my research on them, I found out that AKA did Dynamics 365 stuff. And
Right.
coincidentally, at the same time, I was looking for somebody to develop an app for the sales opportunity snapshot methodology on Dynamics 365. I mean, this all happened within like 2 months of each other. So instead of me, having potentially that company as a client, I wound up becoming your client. So what was the connection between you and AKA, and how did I wind up with you? And then we can talk more about the rest of the journey from there.
Um, it's funny how things connect in life, the degrees of separation we have. But AKA was, I worked with AKA as my last job in New York City. I worked with them for many years. I kind of built out their CRM practice while Microsoft was transitioning from on-premise to cloud. Then I moved back, but I did keep in touch with them. I was still doing some projects with them. And then what happened is, I think when you reached out to them for app development, they said, you know what, Anil's company will be ideal for app development because this is one of their focus on Dynamics, especially in the cloud. And that led to your introduction. And I guess the rest is history.
Yes. So what Anil helped do was turn what used to be a Excel spreadsheet that implemented the SOS methodology that we talked with
Yeah.
Steve Bistritz about and put it inside the CRM system, to allow salespeople to be in the CRM, to be using something that actually helped them to sell, because SOS is a proven methodology, for whatever 12 years prior to that. And
Hmm.
then now the good news is the tool they were using was in the CRM, so that it allowed them, and again, back to data integrity, it's real data, it's live data, it's objective data based on the methodology, and now it's embedded into the environment. So that's what the app did. Describe with everybody that's listening briefly what your process is around, what we went through and what you go through today with helping people implement AI that allows you to, achieve the results that we're able to get, and maybe some of those results that you get for your clients. What does that look like?
Um, I'll go back a little bit around, this uh, sales SOS and great demo. They became the foundation of how I figured out how to put customer first and how to sell. And today, with let's say adoption of AI, customers don't want you to teach them a lot of stuff. It seems that people are doing their research and then coming to you, and so your first call is like maybe your fourth call otherwise in a traditional sales mindset. So
Mhm.
we're getting onto these first calls with a lot of cus knowledge from the customer side. It already happened in B2C sales where we all do our research from the phones we want to buy, for the laptops we want to buy at home, and then we go to the shop to finish that journey, or we might go to Amazon or something. But it's happening in B2B sales as well. So if they're coming for AI, they want that first call to be like that fourth or fifth call. So they want sales and pre-sales to be ready. They want us to have done their research. And so if we really know our stuff, then if we know our value prop, then we're getting on those calls ready with all of that information. And so it allows them to see if we can really help them. Otherwise, to be honest, might not get the second call.
Yeah, exactly. So is there a very quick
Mhm.
example? I know you probably can't mention client name, but what's a use case sort of for how you help your clients, and, finding out the requirements, and then what do they benefit out of the solutions that you're providing to them?
So, we're deploying Microsoft Business Solutions. We are connecting systems and getting their data ready now. That's the new journey for AI. So these are the three parts of our journey. But up until now, up until AI, this was all deploying business solutions and connecting systems. The two main things we do for our customers. Now we have customers in mid-market, small customers, mid-market customers in manufacturing, services, financial services. And for all these customers, they want to implement their business solutions on top of these systems, whether it is sales, whether it's customer service, whether it is ERP, manufacturing, supply chain, and they want all of this data to talk to each other
Mm,
so that their people have the right information to do their jobs. You mentioned 2016 is when we met each other. I know a customer in 2016 who is still a customer today, so it's been a decade with them. When we were starting to implement some of the systems, literally their service manager would get a printout of the service order and walk over to the desk of the purchasing team, and then they would enter it in the ERP system. And today it's all connected.
yeah.
So they,
And
so
many customers probably had like many of those systems that they were looking around at and things like that. Yeah.
they
It,
did, yeah.
very difficult. And so when they do that, what types of benefits do they get out of it when you help them with implementing these systems?
Number one is just efficiencies. If I have access to the data I need, you are in some other department, but I need the data from your department to come onto my department, then I don't have to wait to do my job. So the organization can move that much faster, whether it is when you receive a customer order or when you want to ship out something. These connected systems then allow them to get access to that info. And it is not dependent on some other person or some other team member who might not be there or who might be busy with something else. Allows your organization to move faster, allows your organization then to have these systems as the foundation of how they would then grow their enterprise, or if they have a change in manpower, they have a change in growth, anything else they do, this becomes the foundation of that growth.
Okay. And then you're helping to put the agentic AI potentially on top of parts of that. Is that right?
So that conversations are starting now. One of our manufacturing customers in Pennsylvania, actually, I see you're in Pittsburgh. One of our manufacturing customers has all of this, infrastructure in the cloud. All of their systems are connected. They have manufacturing operations in Pennsylvania, in the UK, India, and China. Mid-market company. But today, because their systems are connected, they're talking to us about some of these agentic AI or AI use cases. For example, they want salespeople to talk to an agent, AI agent, and say, hey, what's the status of this particular purchase or sales order? And it would go into the system, check it, and then say, hey, by the way, it looks like the production is delayed, and it looks like the parts were not placed in order, the raw materials. So it looks like it's going to be delayed. Why don't you talk to the customer?
Okay.
And or it's when you're getting onto a sales cycle, it's actually telling you, hey, this order, typical time frames are 30 days, but it looks like our production is behind schedule. It's going to take you 45 days, so don't commit to 30 days.
Okay. So not only using it for potentially serving information to a client through some demo automation or other type of systems which are using some of that, but then definitely inside to make
Inside the system.
that
Correct.
agent becomes an agent to the salesperson to help them with what they're doing and
Yeah.
sort through the data, right? Instead of them trying to sort through it and see things they couldn't even see.
Correct. And what we see happening, so this is sales. It can happen to, in my company, it happens to developers. So they have this agent next to them who can actually guide them on best practices. So it's your co-pilot, it's your agent next to you. So I can see how this would proliferate, and you, just like how we chat with each other, you might end up chatting with agents more than actually going inside the system and doing a lot of stuff.
Got it.
Which
And
is
it's
great.
interesting you use the word co-pilot because that's what Microsoft calls it, right?
It took me some time to figure out that co-pilot is the pilot next to the pilot.
There you go. So as we get ready to come up to the commercial break, and after the break, we'll get into this a little more. For me, the result working with you, Anil, was an amazing and beautiful SOS for D365 app that completely mimicked and represented the same thing the sales teams that I'd been working with have been doing, the Excel spreadsheet. They were able to immediately go over, but now it's embedded in the CRM. And in fact, when you saw it, and we'll talk more about this after the break, you dubbed it the missing link of CRM. So maybe after the break, we can talk a little more about that, because you, as I said, are helping companies with their sales, but you sell. And so what we'll dig into after the break is the way you use some of these methods to help you with the way you sold, and then even
100%.
the tools and things like that. So we will be back in a couple minutes, and we'll continue with our discussion with Anil Shah.
All right. Talk to you a bit.
Misalignment within your sales team or with a client stalls deals and creates unnecessary friction for you and the client, resulting in up to 37% lower win rate. If you're in pre-sales, sales, sales management, or sales enablement, and you'd like to increase revenues, win rate, margins, client satisfaction, and stay competitive, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Art Fromm, host of the Making Seamless Sales Show. Please join me live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We're talking with Anil Shah of CloudFronts, who was instrumental in helping me to develop, well, they developed it for me, the app, which has now been in production since 2017 and utilizes and implements the sales opportunity snapshot methodology. Now, as part of, we were just talking about the fact, Neil, that with all the things you do and how you help all your clients and all that with their sales stuff and with their CRMs, you also use sales methodologies and you sell.
Yep.
And, especially the nature of what you do, I'm sure that there's a lot of technical detail involved and also, of course, the business outcomes. And like all of us, the goal is client success so that you have people coming back for more. So, can you just describe for us briefly what were some of the challenges maybe as you were building the business that your team faced when it came to sales? And then we'll talk a little bit about the way that perhaps SOS and Great Demo helped with that. But initially, what set up the problem statement for us of some of the challenges that you ran into that you were trying to solve yourself?
Well, first I'll say that I've been doing this for 10, 12 years now, running my own business. And sales is just as hard today as it used to be when I started. And when you start your company, your job is to win deals, but you don't have a process. You don't have a methodology to do it. So you just try everything you can, and you don't know what to focus on. You don't know what's a good opportunity. You don't know how to qualify. You don't know what's your value prop. You don't know a lot of these things. You don't know why somebody wants to buy from you. Do they really need that thing? Or do they really need your solution, which is not cheap. So it's expensive solutions. And you don't know a lot of these things. And yet you just don't know which question to ask. And you learn over time, but it would help to have some process.
Yeah, because
which I didn't have when I
you have
started.
great solutions. You have amazing things you could do. And the tendency is to like show what you have because you believe on the strength of your offer. Why
Correct.
wouldn't people want to sign up for it?
Correct.
And then you can wind up chasing after a bunch of things that aren't necessarily as well aligned as you thought that they were. So when it comes to the, once we got together and, you saw the sales opportunity snapshot, as I
Yes.
mentioned before the break, you mentioned that that seemed to be like the missing link of CRM. What
Yes.
was it about SOS that seemed to be the missing link of CRM? And then what are some things that maybe we'll start out with you. How did implementing some of that in the Great Demo pieces help you and your team to overcome some of these tendencies that, and challenges that you were facing?
To be honest, SOS is everything that a CRM sales module needs to be. Without it, traditional CRM systems are just data repositories. Salespeople are entering data, tracking some notes, and that's really it. And so then you're talking every Tuesday or every Monday or whenever you have your sales meeting, and it's all subjective data. You don't know what to qualify. You could have 100 opportunities. Which ones to focus on? Should you hire 100 salespeople? Because not everything is going to close at the same time. So what to focus on, what not to focus on, how to qualify. A CRM system has that missing link, which is filled by SOS. I'm very grateful actually for that particular solution or methodology to be inside of Dynamics today. Um, and one of this this concentric circles of SOS, right? And one of the main questions, for example, what's the driving reason for change? What's our specific value prop? Um, are we connected to the right relevant executive? You see, you operationalize sales and you bring a methodology to the madness. And I think it puts you in a very different league. You improve your win rate.
Yeah, and because the thing is with CRM systems, and
Mm-hmm.
by the way, on one of my future shows, I'm gonna have Chris Smith on, who is the methodology, this black book that I have over here. It says your CRM shouldn't suck. And
CRM suck.
unfortunately,
That is correct.
you know,
Salespeople hate CRM systems.
they
Correct.
hate CRM systems, but it's supposed to help them.
Correct.
The reason they hate it usually is because it's mainly for the purpose of management to do the
Yes.
forecasting and stuff like that. So they sort of force salespeople to put the stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
Salespeople resent that. It's not accurate, like you said, and a lot of times it's last minute. So the fact that it's embedded in there is a key aspect of it, and it would
Mm-hmm.
help you to do the proper qualification and things like that. So I love that you said that it's the missing link of CRM, and believe me, I've used that many times and attributed it back to you. I think very closely related to that too, and there's so many things that are so closely related. That's part of why I
Mm-hmm.
wrote the book was to, you know, Steve Bistrus's SOS parts are in there, and Peter Cohan great demo parts are in there, and
Mm-hmm.
John Kerr, mastering technical sales, and then some of my methodology, because it's really the best of all blends together. And this is where the concept of seamless sales comes in. And you were one of the very first people, Anil, to confirm that the idea of the SE and the AM working together seamlessly and seamless sales. We talked about that when we met in Las Vegas in 19 or in yeah 19 in
Yeah.
2018, not
Correct.
long after we met, and we went together and we presented together, and you said, yeah,
That's
seamless
correct.
sales. That has a real ring to it. And I want to thank you for that because it has been a big theme and it's very important. So what do you think for your clients? How does when you're doing this approach and when you're using some of these methods and also all the goodness. I mean, I'm not taking credit for your business by any means because it's just an enabler for you. But what are you seeing for your clients and for you in terms of the success that you need to get out of them, that you want to help them with? How are these things helping with that?
Look, I'm an engineer by education, and so
Me
this
too.
brings. Oh, you are good.
Yeah,
This brings.
I like to say a recovering engineer. I keep it in the
Sure.
box, but then when I need to, I get it out of the box.
And we look at things in kind of a process mindset, and this allows this to really happen for our customers in our own sales cycle. Um, every Tuesday, we still run our sales cycle, and the very first question of all the opportunities is, what's the driving reason for change? We always talk about that first. Are we connected to the right people, the influence map, and all of the good stuff? In terms of us selling to our customers, you said Peter Cohen's great demo. We use the great demo. Situation slide is something we live by. It has actually gone further into the organization. So if we have a project management conflict, we say, let's start with the situation slide. Everything starts with the situation slide now. So it actually has roots in different parts of my company. And our clients see us working in this manner. And I know customers who've actually implemented a lot of our sales and other method processes into their sort of small and mid-market organizations because they realize it brings this kind of visibility into what's happening within the organization from the time a lead or a prospect walks in to when they build their customer. So we find that it's actually um, becomes they see their businesses becoming seamless.
Yeah, well, and this, really this gets back to data again, doesn't it? Because
Yes.
if the data that we're using in a sales engagement is not properly vetted and understood in discovery, and then you mentioned the situation slide, which is the summary of
Hmm.
discovery, and it's also
Yes.
the kickoff for when you meet with the client. How do you think that helps with you confirming the data and the way that benefits both you and the customer as that sort of starting point for your presentation and the summary of discovery?
Look, when we're getting on these calls to either demo or to do our discovery, or we've done our discovery and get to a demo, you're meeting usually with senior executives who have a limited amount of time. That particular slide, the situation slide as we call it, is basically what's the current issue, what's the goal, and what's going to happen once you're done with all of this. We get everybody's agreement on that slide, and it actually brings everybody's attention to, yep, they got it. And then Great Demo has another thing that says, do the last thing first.
Mm-hmm.
And which means executives have limited time, you got their attention, focus on what really matters. And that's also part of that methodology. And by doing that, we actually improve our win rates. And we get that feedback consistently, that the questions you guys ask and eventually what you show to us is very few or no company does that with us in sort of the the companies we work with in the partner ecosystem. And that we find kind of a validation or a QA check. Yep, we're on the right track. And I just want to say something very important here. There's another word called the click march of death or something. By doing a great demo, we don't do the clicks and whatnots and the screen loadings and whatnot, and that process really flows smoothly. And I have not had anybody tell me, hey, can we go look at a live system?
Wow. Yeah. So you brought it to life for them in that short time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, the tendency might be to want to deep dive what this, knowing that they know that you are on their page, so that they know that what you're showing really is what they care about.
Yes.
As opposed to the person that walks up to you in the store and starts to point out, well, we have this, we have this, we have this, this. It's like, well, I don't want any of that stuff. This is the thing I want. So let's start with what I'm trying to do, and then we can talk about where we go from there.
Yes.
Awesome. So just finishing up here, kind of putting a wrap around this, and thanks so much again for being here. It's been an absolute joy and so great for you to share, how you can help others and things like that. Just one more minute of your thoughts for the vision, for the future of sales working together seamlessly, especially in light of agentic AI and the way that you're positioned as a Microsoft and Databricks partner. What are your thoughts on that as we finish off?
You said something important, that the human element is very essential in our sales cycle. We can use agentic AI as sort of something that adds to your sales cycle. You can get some of the demo stuff, etc., ready earlier and whatnot. But you do need this methodology, and by having the sales and pre-sales work together, you get to that first conversation that the customer wants you to get to faster. They don't want you to waste time it seems there's a trend now. Customers don't want you to waste a lot of time doing discovery. They need you to know their industry. They need you to know some of the stuff that they want early on before you get on a call, which means aligning AE and the account manager and your pre-sales together, or maybe these roles merge, we never know, is going to be essential. And these tools help you stay with your win rates. Otherwise, you might see things keep dropping.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Really quickly, how can anybody contact you to learn more about your services?
Definitely. You can, my company is CloudFronts, and you can reach out to me at asia@cloudfronts.com or transform@cloudfronts.com, or go to our website, www.cloudfronts.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Anil. Really appreciate it. And everybody, tons of takeaways there for how you can model what's going on and also look at ways to improve your environment. So thank you so much. And looking forward to continuing to work together.
Pleasure, sir. Take care.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, aka the corporate cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Navtej Desange, inviting you to Setting Up Success with a Splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please join us and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
Cheers.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So great to have Anil share with us the ways that he's helping with the next generation of development for sales teams, for organizations all across different verticals. I want to shift now to what I have been calling the Dear Artie segment, which is patterned after the Dear Abby, if anybody's familiar with the columnist who used to take, life problems that people were having, and they would ask this person, Dear Abby. So the Dear Artie is about bringing your sales situations, and I'm very open to hearing what you have. You can go to the teamsalesdevelopment.com website and go to the contact page and just put in there a sales situation if you need some help with it. And I'd be glad to, of course, anonymously, if you so choose, cover that on a future show. Also, you can always reach out to me directly so that I can help you with situations that you're in. Today, I wanted to just pivot off of what Anil and I were talking about with the way that we met through the fact that initially I thought, where he used to work was going to be my great demo client. And then because I was looking for Dynamics 365 development, they pointed me to Anil, and then starting in 2017, I was able to put this app into production. But I want to back up a little bit and tell you the situation leading up to the need for me to develop the app. But I think this is a case study in how to apply some of the concepts such as sales opportunity snapshot and some of the great demo concepts as well. So what happened was that I had a longtime client who in 2015, so I had them as a client for 10 years already in 2015. And at that time, there was a wholesale management change from the CEO right through the VP of sales. And my main contact was the VP of sales, although previously I had, from the very beginning, contact with the CEO because he had really started the whole implementation. And the implementation was primarily all of the pieces of my consultative sales curriculum. So it was the sales opportunity snapshot, selling to executives, and Steve and I talked about that a few shows ago on episode 2. Also my customer buying process workshop and a financial selling workshop. So that was kind of the 4 things that they were going through for 10 years. And they knew that it improved their win rate by 16 points. And it initially, in the first 2 years, increased their bookings by 22%. So they knew it was a really, really strong system. And that's why they continued to engage me for 10 years, continuing to train their salespeople in all these different programs. Unfortunately, in 2015, new management came in and essentially put the whole program on hold. And it was because of their philosophy that sales management should be doing the training, not an outside third party. So I was kind of on the outs. The sales management now was put on the hot seat to try to implement. And by the way, next week's show is on September 11th is going to be with Brian Conway, and Brian talks about sales management and he trains sales management. So we're going to talk about that on next week's show. Anyway, all the methods that were being successfully used were basically shelved because nobody wanted to go against the new management, and my supporters internally were just devastated. In fact, I think one got laid off, and it was a really bad time. but we both agreed that it can't last. They rely on this. They'd been using it. It was very successful, got them to where they were after 10 years, and it really couldn't last. So this is where the other part of the story comes into play. In 2016, Peter Cohan had asked me to be a great demo partner that I added to my portfolio. And so I learned the great demo approach, which was really to ensure that you can get executive buy-in during a very short period of time if you've done your discovery, if you've got the situation slide that Anil talked about, if you are making sure they know you are aligned with what they're trying to do. So I knew all that stuff. I knew the way to start a presentation off and the way to show the value with the solution and the next steps. So at the same time as Peter Cohan got me going with Great Demo, and I was getting reintroduced to this longtime customer as a potential for coming back. Because what happened was in 2016, after about a year and a half of this new management, things weren't working out. My client, was experiencing things that they had already fixed previously, like win rates weren't as high. There was too much quotes going out for deals that weren't fully qualified. They were spending a lot of time on deals that didn't go anywhere, so they ended up in a do nothing situation and they didn't win deals. They lost to no competitor, but status quo. So my team started to contact me behind the scenes. Now, this is before I met Anil or anything, because I really didn't necessarily know that I needed that quite yet. But my team started contacting me and they told me that during the time that I had been away, my client had implemented Dynamics 365. So I thought, well, this is great, because if I can get back in there and we can continue with SOS, which was using an Excel spreadsheet that was a standalone spreadsheet that looked wonderful, by the way. It looks exactly the same as the app. But that spreadsheet didn't allow me to stay engaged. It was independent information on different people's laptops. If I could implement a Dynamics 365 app and get SOS back in there again, then I think that'd be a winning combination for everybody. So I, did research with the team. They had gotten information from the management of what the issues were. We came up with a situation slide that outlined, as the VP of sales, you're trying to hit quota. The reasons you're not hitting quota is because unqualified deals, too many people are putting things through that shouldn't be, put through. There's not enough information about it. You're losing deals. And a lot of that is because of the fact that there's not really something that's being used that's inside the CRM system. The VP also wanted to make sure that their sales managers could understand where the deals were, and that wasn't, being used at the time. And then also they needed to do it quickly because he was really getting a lot of pressure due to a downward trend in their numbers. So I confluenced all this together, and literally the same time I was finding this out from my client about what the potential needs were, and they were going to set up a call with the VP of sales. At the same time, I started to have this potential of AKA as a client for Great Demo. So I don't remember the exact order what happened when, but suffice to say, I wound up with a 30-minute call that the team I had been working with in my client set up with this new VP of sales, which I had never met before. And I used the Great Demo methodology. Oh, by the way, it was 30 minutes, but he didn't, he showed up 15 minutes late. So now we're down to 15 minutes. We were on WebEx at the time because I was doing it virtual and we had issues with WebEx. So now I'm down to 10 minutes and I get the VP of sales on. We do some quick introductions. The team introduces me. And I started out with the situation slide that my support team, who I'd been working with for 10 years, helped me to create. And I said, here's what I understand you're doing. What I want to do is review what I hear that you're trying to do, some of the challenges, show you what I have in mind, and then if you like that, we can see how we proceed. He said, great, I'm really kind of desperate here to get something done. So I reviewed what I knew, took him through it. I covered all the points, and at the end of it, I asked him, is this, does this describe your situation? Is my understanding correct? And he said yes, and he said, I really want to dig in on this part right here where I have stuff in the CRM system that allows me to manage that, and the salespeople are really using the CRM system to the full capability, because he knew the CRM system by itself wasn't cutting it. So I said, great. I said, with that in mind, let me show you the solution. So what I had done is taken the Excel spreadsheet, the pictures of that, the graphical representations that are on there for SOS, and I showed it inside the CRM system in what would have been the opportunity management part of it. I explained to him exactly, the high level, here's going to help you qualify the deals. This is going to allow you to make sure that you're focused on things that are going to help you win. It's going to allow you to have your manager, since it's embedded in the CRM, to see the things and all that. I said it's going to allow you to increase your win rate, achieve your quota, and your morale and everything will go back up again, all the things he wanted to do. With that, I said, is this what you had in mind? And he said, yes, exactly. And now make it work with the team. Go work with the team and make it happen. And after a year and a half of being out of this client that I had for 10 years, I was back in again. That's when AKA and Anil came into the picture. I worked with Anil to create the app, put it inside the CRM, and they implemented it in 2017 to great success. That sales manager, who had essentially been part of the team that kicked me out a year and a half earlier, became my biggest supporter and really drove that very successfully. And I'm very humble and proud to say I still have that client to this day here as we're approaching, the end of 2005, or 2025, because I started with them in 2005. So the bottom line is using, the great demo methodology, implementing the SOS system in the CRM system allowed them to achieve their goals. And I couldn't have done it without Anil and without his team. And they made sure that they had a success for me. So now my client is once again seeing that win rate improvement, booking more deals. And I've actually had 2 spin-off clients since then that the SOS tool is being used by them as well. So all that thanks to CloudFronts. So big shout out to Steve Bistritz with SOS, Peter Cohan with Great Demo, Anil and the team at CloudFronts. I'd like you to join me next week as Brian Conway comes on to talk about the way that he helps sales management with implementation, and especially pre-sales and sales, how they can work together better. Learn how to use these methods to improve your team, increase win rate, bookings, margins, and client success. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to my website, teamsalesdevelopment.com, and I'll be happy to help you with your needs, discuss what you're looking to do, how I can help with workshops, keynotes, sessions, or your sales kickoff content or event. So thank you, everybody. See you next week, and take care. All the best.